We all know information is more available now than ever. This is also true for corporate data. Old ledgers have been put online, paper documents are now stored in online libraries, and everything is getting pushed out to the cloud. However, even with all these advancements, most operational folks in servicing would say that data continues to be a challenge. This seems to be specifically true for investor accounting and investor reporting teams. This is often misunderstood as an IT issue, but it really isn't. Let's explore some of the data sources and their challenges. For investor accounting, there are three main sources of information. First, the bank statement. We've already talked about that one. We're also concerned with wires and electronic transfer information. And finally, servicing system data, which is our main system of record. That's going to be our focus for today. There are several servicing systems out there. There's Finastra with Servicing Director, there's Jack Henry, FCIS makes a popular product with credit unions, and there are many others. But when you think of servicing systems, two names likely come to mind. And that's because these companies combined make up more than 85% of the market. There's Sagent, which used to be Fiserv, and there's Black Knight with the mortgage servicing platform, better known as MSP. Today we'll focus on our experiences working with these last two systems, but the same principles really apply to all of them. Something that makes data tricky with a services system is the servicing system itself. It comes down to how it was built, its architecture. To better explain this, here's a tiny history lesson. The majority of servicing systems have a mainframe architecture, old school. Back in the 70s, this was the best answer for crunching a lot of data. The mainframe is essentially the great-grandfather of the modern enterprise database. Mainframe systems were perhaps clunky and scary to modify once working, but tended to be really reliable. This was super important for the mortgage industry, which has always been a treasure trove for data. Mainframes were so reliable for managing that data, in fact, that some of that same technology is still in use today, right down to the original source code. Information is structured a little differently in mainframe system, and that's what makes it challenging for modern systems to simply use this data. Take the P139 report from MSP, for example, the monthly statement of mortgage account report. Ever wonder why it's called the P139? P139 is literally the name of the printer that would produce this report. Think of a giant room full of actual physical printers that would be used to deliver the reports. Yeah, old school. The concept has obviously modernized. Now we don't actually print out all the reports, but we're still stuck with their structures. And they're all different. Each report has a distinct format because they were all probably programmed by different people. That was common back then. I bet none of those programmers thought their code would be in use 40 years later. Now I'm scrolling through a data package of raw reports from a servicing system. Many servicing shops receive a set like this every morning. This is gigs and gigs of data, all formatted differently. You're probably used to seeing something more like this, a spreadsheet we created by extracting data from the report. As you can see, part of the challenge is just getting the servicing system data in this format. So information is also split over multiple reports. For example, take MSP deposits. Payment application folks would know these as the edit reports or e-reports. So there's three of them, the EOC7 for corporate deposits, the EO13 for special deposits, and the EO08 for paid in full or repurchases. So why do we need three reports? Well, the servicing system grew to accommodate new concepts such as corporate advance, thus creating a new report. So now there's three reports, each of them with their specific format that we need to combine and collect to get a full picture of deposits. I think you can see where the first challenge is going. Information presented like that makes transforming data very challenging, even before you start thinking about automation. So there are no specs to work from, so making good extraction models takes a few iterations to get things just right. And once the models are really good, the underlying report could change at any time without warning, starting the cycle all over again. Let's imagine that with a great IT muscle and some good vibes, we're able to extract the reports flawlessly. Let's just say that stopped being a concern altogether. Now we start seeing the second challenge with servicing system data. We have to string all those reports together so that the data starts making sense to us. So take that deposits example we talked about before. Making sense to most shops means organizing data by loan and investor. This is great for loan-driven data, but not all the information we need is loan data. Now take a Sage report example. Thinking of the 06701, the cash audit trail report. This is very helpful for reconciling the payment clearing account, for example. This is important information, but it's organized by bank account and teller, and not by loan number. So how does it fit with the data strategy? Is it even in the data warehouse? IT departments have to make lots of decisions when working in servicing. They're dealing with data packages that contain tons of information to extract and store each day, and every team that uses this data has a little different requirement for it. Compromises naturally have to be made to balance out efficiency and cost. Then this brings up another interesting layer to the data challenge: department-created data sources. Many times this means a bunch of spreadsheets in a network drive, all formatted the same way, one hopes, to help automate some process. It's inevitable. There's always seemed to be an important piece of rogue automation that props up or propels some process within investment accounting. This is particularly likely in custodial reconciliation or when dealing with clearing accounts. Also inevitably, these automations age and they become bloated or obsolete over time. Or maybe even worse, eventually we may have a system that nobody really knows what it does anymore. I see two big opportunities for taming data-related challenges in your servicing system. First, beware the data vampire. Many folks pay by the kilobyte of data they receive from their servicing system, data they own and produce. This means you pay when you both produce and consume data, even if that data is trash. To identify these data drains, you have to consider how data is used at the macro level. Take the time to understand the data demands of the operation and see how data is really being used. Also, take some time to understand what data is being produced, because this is what feeds the cycle. Garbage in, garbage out. It can be tricky to do this at the big picture level, so maybe focus on the areas that are most affected by bad data. A second good strategy is to address the need for niche information. If you can identify these needs and find a way to produce it, you will eliminate the need for department-created rogue processes that are made to obtain it. This means maybe creating a mini data strategy for a particular set of reports or creating a package for them. See, I'm talking about creating an information asset, a formal system or record. I hope you have found this information helpful, and please feel free to reach out with any questions.